Dear friends, I'm operator Starsky, and this is day 1048 of Russia's three-day invasion of Ukraine. Russians were caught off guard with the unexpected Ukrainian advance in Kursk Oblast. What are the chances for the terror Russians to lose Kursk power plant to Ukrainian troops? And Lex Friedman interviewed Ukrainian President Zelensky. This is the Frontline focus. Let's roll. I think it won't be an exaggeration to say that Russians had a small panic attack after Ukrainian forces have resumed offensive operations in at least three key areas in Kursk Oblast. Ukrainian troops have entered the southern part of Berdyn and now occupy settlements like Cherkasskaya Porечnaya, Martinovka, and Mikhailovka. They have also advanced in fields west of Yamskaya Steppe and Novaya Sorochnya. Reports indicate Ukrainian mechanized assaults in three waves northeast of Sudzha, involving roughly a battalion worth of armored vehicles. Additional attacks occurred near Pushkarnaya and Leonidova. Despite taking heavy casualties earlier last week, losing up to a battalion in a single day, Russian terrorists launched counter-attacks south of Sudzha to slow Ukrainian advances. The Russian propagandists claim that Russian paratroopers and Spetsnaz advanced along roads near Kurilovka and Mikhailovka. However, we have no visual confirmation for those claims. One of the main features of this operation, my friends, is the fact that Russian UAVs seemed pretty much useless. Improved Ukrainian electronic warfare systems have degraded Russian drone capabilities, limiting their ability to monitor and defend against Ukrainian mechanized attacks. Simultaneously, Russian terrorists struggle to counter Ukrainian innovations, which raises concerns in the Russian monitoring channels about the Russian ability to adapt. In Donetsk Oblast, Russian terrorists have intensified efforts to encircle Pokrovsk. They are positioning along the roads and reinforcing the area with the reserves from the central military district of the terrorist federation. The situation remains fluid as Ukrainian forces employ advanced tactics to achieve localized successes, while Russian troops counterattack to regain control. As we can see, both Kursk and Pokrovsk regions emerged as focal points of the resumed operations of the first days of this year. Now let's talk about the Kursk nuclear power plant that is located in the town of Kurchatov, just 45 kilometers away from Ukrainian positions in Malaya Lakhnya. The close proximity of Ukrainian troops to the power plant amplifies the growing Russian fears of losing this strategic facility to Ukraine. Multiple Russian commentators believe that this can lead to far-reaching consequences like undermining Russian energy supplies and logistics in the region, as well as inability of recapturing it later. The reason is that Russians will not be able to utilize their traditional tactics that involves demolishing area with gliding bombs and artillery fire, which, by the way, mirrors the Russian tactics in Chernobyl, where Russians felt pretty much safe inside the nuclear power plant, knowing that Ukraine will never strike it. And of course, losing a Russian nuclear power plant to Ukrainian army will deliver a devastating blow to the Russian propagandist machine. And while it's too early to even speculate around the possible Ukrainian advance in this direction, some of the Russian mill bloggers are concerned with two key issues in regards to the Kursk defense. First of all, Russian forces in Kursk are composed of mixed units, including airborne troops, Spetsnaz, Kadyrovites, conscripts, as well as remains of the terrorist group Wagner. This highlights potential weaknesses in coordination between those units. Another issue is Ukraine's superior capabilities in frames of electronic warfare and precision strikes. While it remains unclear whether Ukraine intends to capture this facility, Ukraine's advances in Kursk Oblast demonstrate a clear ability to challenge Russian defenses and exploit vulnerabilities in strategic areas using gaps and disorganization in Russian military control in border regions. Lex Friedman, American podcaster, interviewed Ukrainian President Zelensky. As of now, this interview hasn't gained as much views as Tucker Carlson interview with Putin, who, as you know, is an international wanted war criminal. And the reason for that is Ukraine is extremely transparent and open to all sorts of international media. Oh my God, I think that whole world visited Ukraine and interviewed all sorts of people here as of this moment. At the same time, war criminal Putin is extremely picky regarding press. He only gives interview to the Russian media for obvious reasons, because they're controlled by Kremlin, as well as a small number of paid Russian assets from abroad. According to Steven Rosenberg, a BBC correspondent in Russia, it's a true miracle for a foreign press to get accepted to a press conference with Putin, because in October last year, Mr. Rosenberg only managed to ask his question to Putin for the first time since 2022. And that's considering the fact that Tucker Carlson lied about nobody's desire to interview the great Russian leader and learn opinion from the other side. The truth is, Putin literally doesn't want to talk to people who can ask proper questions. And speaking of Putin, in Zelensky's interview to Lex Friedman, Ukrainian president said that he doesn't respect the Russian dictator, who literally spent hours explaining poor Tucker Carlson the differences between the ancient Slavic tribes. Literally, it is 21st century when we have things like international law, international recognized borders, and if a president of a superpower justifies invading a foreign country with ancient tribes, with Romans and Genghis Khan, there's something freaking wrong with him personally and his population. Not even mentioning the fact that Putin justified Adolf because Poland was too stubborn to negotiate. That just doesn't fit in my head until this day, my friends. But despite being just one of many hundreds of interviews with President Zelensky, this one is extremely informative, because this one addresses such topics as transparency in Ukraine, debunking the Russian fakes about smuggling weapons, and it's basically fun to watch because President Zelensky, like always, is emotional and alive, like a normal human being, unlike Putin and his dying horse Lavrov. Interesting fact, nobody brought Lex Friedman to Ukrainian subway to make a report on how clean it is, you see how beautiful, no drunk people lying around, or a Ukrainian Sylpo supermarket, because unlike Russia, Ukraine is not a circus. We do some serious communications here. You can check out the interview in the description below, it's totally worth it. Dear friends, please subscribe to stay informed about the most important updates in and around Ukraine, and share this content to help Ukraine be heard. Traditionally, we'll see you in the commentaries. I'm operator Starsky. As always, be safe.